Hello there, this is Mr. Rose, welcoming you to your guide on writing a literary essay. This type of essay is all about digging beneath the surface of a story or a film. We're not just summarizing our events, we're looking at how these ideas are created and explored using language, structure, and other techniques. I encourage you to keep this slide deck handy. It will walk you through every step of writing your essay, from understanding the task to writing a strong thesis. So let's go. By the end of this particular unit, you should be able to select and organize complex ideas. That means that you will learn how to sort through your thoughts and structure them into a strong argument. You'll be able to support your ideas with detail. That includes quotes, examples, and techniques that help prove your point. You'll also be able to use precise language and transitions. This will help your writing sound fluent and connected, and they make your ideas easier to follow. So, what is a literary essay? Let's break it down. A literary essay is not a plot summary. It focuses on how authors and directors use techniques to communicate deeper messages or concepts. You should have been exploring themes, characters, settings, or techniques like symbolism, tone, or imagery throughout this particular unit. Your goal is to interpret what's beneath the surface and back that up with evidence such as quotes or film scenes. A pro tip is to always ask why something is happening and how it's shown. This gets you to analyze, not just describe. It's important to understand your task. I've rewritten your assessment task in the form of a question. That question is, how is the concept of insert concept represented and explored in both Fitzgerald's The Great Gatsby and Soderbergh's Erin Brockovich? And what do these representations reveal about the values of their respective contexts? This is a comparative analytical essay. You are expected to firstly choose a concept, whether you are looking at one of the concepts from your task sheet or one that you've discussed with your teacher. You then need to compare how both texts explore that concept. And you need to explain how each text portrayal connects to its historical, social, or cultural contexts. Think of yourself as a detective, uncovering not just what the text says, but why it says it in that way. And what does this reveal about our understanding of society connected to this topic? I've broken up the assessment task so we understand a little bit more about what we are focusing on. So when I'm looking at how is the concept represented and explored, you need to analyze your text. This includes that focus on your characters, your events, or themes. You also need to think about how the authors or directors represent that concept using the techniques. And consider whether your texts are similar or different. This section should be fairly straightforward. You must look at both texts and compare them. Don't just write about one and then the other. There needs to be a strong link through the themes, characters, or techniques that you are talking about. A comparative structure is expected. When we're looking at what do these representations reveal about our characters and respective contexts, we need to think of context as the world the text was made in. So think about that historical period, the 1920s America versus that early 2000s America or late 1990s. What were the dominant values or social issues if you're looking at gender roles or the idea of the American dream? Maybe there's class inequality or the concept of justice. And what does the text seem to celebrate, critique, or question? Ask yourself, what do the portrayals of your chosen concept suggest about society at the time? And what values do these texts support or challenge? When you are trying to determine the impact of these contexts, make sure you have some background research and class notes to connect your analysis to the context. A little history goes a long way in literary essays. Your too long didn't read summary. As simple as it is, to succeed, you must choose a concept. You need to analyze how each text represents that concept using the techniques and examples. You need to compare the representations, and you need to link those representations to the context and values of each text's world. This is your roadmap. If you ever feel stuck, come back to this slide and ask yourself, which step am I up to? Consider printing this out and sticking it in your workbook so you can tick these off. We're now going to look at our thesis writing. Your thesis is the heart of your essay, but don't stress. It doesn't have to be perfect right away. You will probably rewrite your thesis a few times. That is completely normal. As you gather more evidence and sharpen your argument, your thesis will grow stronger. A good thesis answers the question. It will show insight. That is your interpretation, not just a summary. And it gives a preview of your point. Think of your thesis as your essay's elevator pitch. If someone asked you what your essay is about in one sentence, this is what you would say. So, what is a thesis statement? I've got on the screen here my own examples, but a thesis statement has, firstly, the topic. This should be the concept you are exploring, whether it is control, greed, or justice. You can see in my example, I've focused on control. Your next section is that argument, what you believe the texts are saying about this concept. I am talking about the way that there is an erosion of individuality throughout these two texts. In your supporting ideas, you need to have the techniques or themes that you'll use to prove it. These are kind of your body paragraphs. So I have that control is maintained through surveillance, fear, and manipulation of language. Surveillance, fear, and language are going to be my supporting ideas. Your thesis is that foundation of your essay, so everything you write needs to be connected back to it. Let's build a basic version first. I encourage you to use this scaffold at the bottom of the slide. In both The Great Gatsby and Erin Brockovich, the concept of blank is represented through blank, revealing blank. Try this for yourself. Here is how you test it when you've finished. Does your thesis clearly state your concept? Does it include both texts? And is there a hint at a comparison and context? Write your working thesis in your notes. Then, as you gather your evidence, keep refining it until it's ready for your introduction. I'm going to refer to this as your working thesis statement. It's not yet a thesis, it is that working thesis statement. Thank you for listening. My next presentation will be on how we write our introduction.